This effort from the Northern New Mexico Rural Health Network is an effort to reduce stigma of substance use disorder, to make it easier to access treatment and resources that help with recovery.
And our society has placed so many barriers in front of folks. Housing issues, there's paperwork.
A year into this program, I didn't realize how difficult it is, how much stigma there are on our community and on certain people in our community, and how difficult it is to survive in Taos.
We're a tricultural community, basically, and so with that comes a lot of pain and trauma and hurt. We've shed blood, we've shed tears, everything together. And so when you have a program like Recovery Works, I believe that the return on investment into our community is the results greatly outweigh anything, any monetary, any kind of money that we could put into the community.
I have friends that are, EMTs. They are tired of, they say, oh, I'm just tired of going on the same calls with this same individual. And, we always get in, arguments and stuff like that. But, they just need to be trained more, and even medical, like even doctors, because I know a lot of doctors, I think somebody told me doctors are only trained a certain amount of hours on substance use, So I think they need to also be trained a little bit more, because they are, I hear it from a lot of clients, that they get treated very bad when they're at hospital stays also. Not just when they're, not just when they're getting arrested, it's when they're in the hospital too. So yeah, I think that's a big thing, is just getting more people. And not just them, like, let's speak up to everybody. Like, I'm not ashamed of who I am, my recovery. I could be in a grocery store, whatever. I'll be talking to a complete stranger and I tell them my story. I'm not ashamed, I feel the way, if I share my story, maybe that person that does stigmatize, right? Maybe that might give them a different way of thinking,
Because that's another myth that's all connected to that, is that somehow recovery is predicated on making the decision to change. And if that decision is strong enough, and you believe it and you want it enough, that it happens. And the reality is that very often, as a person's addiction increases, their ability to sustain abstinence actually decreases. And that's because the tools, and I mean by tools, I mean the biological, neurobiological resources that a person needs in order to cope with their emotions, in order to problem solve their way through life, in order to sequence their behavior, in order to set goals and reach them, in order to comply with probation. All these things that take a lot of resources that are attacked by the substances that are used and by the lifestyle that's associated with the use. So,
my own journey began in the detox center over by the hospital, which has been closed for quite some time now, and I'm very hopeful that will be reopening soon. I think my fingers are permanently crossed. They'll have to use tools to get them apart, because we've been working on this for 5 years to try to get the detox center reopened. But my own journey was bumpy, and to make sure that we realize, as Dr. Mash was saying, that many times relapse is part of that journey.
It wasn't for nothing, So my sons understand that, my daughter too, so we stand up and stay strong together, And this path is really hard, but now we have something that we realized this year, last year too, that we have a family and we're not alone anymore, man, and